Hello, my name is Lauren Brascho, and this will be my second book talk for EDR 653. The book that I'm going to be discussing with you today is called A Snicker of Magic, written by Natalie Lloyd. A Snicker of Magic is actually author Natalie Lloyd's debut novel, which I found to be very interesting. The main character in this story, A Snicker of Magic, is a little girl by the name of Felicity Juniper Pickle. Felicity Pickle has a mother whose name is Holly Harness Pickle and a sister named Franny Joe. She also has a dog named Biscuit. Now, we're told in this story in the beginning that Felicity's mother is cursed with a wandering heart. Felicity and her sister move from town to town, and they never really have one place to call home. They actually even have all of their most prized possessions all in one location in a suitcase, ready to get up and leave. Felicity is really longing for a place to call home. Well, she thinks that she just might have found it when she travels with her family to the town of Midnight Gulch. Midnight Gulch is the former hometown of her mother, Holly. It's where Holly grew up. So Felicity and her mother and sister travel to Midnight Gulch to live with her Aunt Cleo. There's something very peculiar about the town Midnight Gulch. Rumors are told to her that the town is a former magical town, but that now it's currently cursed when a feud among brothers started. Felicity really wants to discover why, and she wants to know what she can do to change the fact to make this place her home once and for all. The character of Felicity is an awesome character in this book. She has the unusual ability to see words and to collect them. She's called a word collector in the story. She sees words sparkling and curling and darting through the air, hovering over her family and friends and strangers, and she even sees some tangled up in her dog's floppy ears. She's collected most words that you can imagine and even some words that you can't. Felicity keeps all of these special words in her own blue notebook. There's even one time in the chapter book that we read about where she starts to write the words that she sees on her sneakers because she's run out of room where to write the words. But normally she keeps them in her special blue notebook. This story has a plethora of characters. Two of my favorite characters, other than Felicity herself, were her sister and Felicity's friend, the first true friend that she finally makes after moving into Midnight Gulch. His name is Jonah. Jonah is actually handicapped and is in a wheelchair, but we don't really spend that much time discussing that, but I thought it would be a good way to discuss character and acceptance of students of all abilities. This is a quote from the book that describes Jonah and his character. Jonah Pickett was like snow days, field trips, candy stores, and Christmas Eve, all blended into one big swoosh of a feeling. I just love that description of Jonah. It was actually Jonah who told Felicity what a snicker of magic actually was, and the quote from the text that describes that is when Felicity said, "A snicker? That's magic left over," Jonah explained. "Not good for much, not as fancy as it used to be, but enough to make it special." That was on page 134 of our text. This book answers the question, can we work together to create our own magic? In the end of the story, we discover that Felicity brings back magic to a town that seems to have lost its luster. A Snicker of Magic is about belonging, family, sadness, and long-lost happiness. The genre that I would place this book in is magical realism. I would recommend this text for middle grade readers. Also, this book has such rich language. Vocabulary opportunities are just unimaginable that you could do with this text. It has very rich use of language, and it also has Southern characters that I think that our readers here in Alabama could really relate to. Some student activities that I would have students complete with this text are, I would give my readers in my classroom their own blue notebooks, and I would encourage them to keep their own words just the way Felicity did, and to write down their thoughts as they're reading. We could complete quick writes in the blue notebooks, and they could just, start their own new vocabulary. Any words that they didn't know, we could go back and research and discover the meaning of them. Also, there is a ice cream shop in this book. It's called Dr. Zook's Famous Ice Cream Factory. And accumulating activity is I would have my students create their own flavor of ice cream, and we would submit it to Dr. Zook's Famous Ice Cream. I would also make ice cream in a bag in my classroom. That's a way to tie this textbook to science and studying the states of matter. Also, the way that ice cream, how it ties into this, is with Dr. Zook's Famous Ice Cream Factory in the town of Midnight Gulch. It was described to us that magic still lingered in the little things, and one of the little things was like an ice cream flavor. It was described that when characters eat certain flavors, the ice cream would bring back memories and emotions that they have long forgotten. Like I said, there's a plethora of vocabulary activities you could do. Some of my favorite vocabulary words that were found in this text, I'm going to read just a few of them to you. Clatter, slither, and dash away, boundless, gargantuan, and humdinger, fizz, flutter, and floozy. Lickety, split, quick, pumpernickel and plum, adorable, swankified, wonderstruck, and 3 simple words yet that held so much meaning in this text were hope, family, and home. I really loved the relationship that Felicity had with her sister. I have 2 sisters myself, so I was able to make a text-to-self connection. I'm going to read to you a portion from the text when we discover Felicity's relationship with her younger sister. I made a big show of catching invisible words in my hands and putting them in my mouth and chewing on them. I knew my word-catching charade wasn't the best way to make a fast friend at Stoneberry Elementary School, but it was the only way I could think of to make my sister feel better. And I think if you're lucky, a sister is the same as a friend, but better. A sister is a super forever infinity friend. That quote really touched me. I was able to make a text-to-self connection there, and I really think that readers in our classroom will be able to make many text-to-self connections. We can discuss the genre. Was it really magical, or did the characters work together to create their own magic by finally feeling accepted and having a sense of belonging? My favorite quote that I'm going to end with is about the fact that Felicity finally was able to find a place to call home, and her family settled down, and that's something she really longed for. I think that many readers will be able to make a connection with that if they've ever had to move to a new school, to a new location, the apprehensions that they had at making new friends and starting a new school. I think that our students will be able to make many connections with that as well. My favorite quote that I'm going to end with is a big theme of the story being home. Home isn't just a house or a city or a place. Home is what happens when you're brave enough to love people. And that's what Felicity does in the end of this story. And I just really want to applaud author Natalie Lloyd. She does such a great job. And I recommend that you read this book if you teach lower level students, you can do it as a read aloud for K1 and 2. If you teach upper grades, 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade, they could read it independently, and you could discuss it in literature circles or as guided reading. Thanks a bunch.